Who we got next?
All
MTG's
right,
first
let's
person.
go.
Oh. Even with his best efforts, he rigs it.
But
That's
isn't
a
Chris
nice wheel.
Fruits in mine?
I love it.
YST.
We have a winner.
So
Yeah, my dude, SoulSaint. Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh yeah, we got this.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are at. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and we're on a free-to-play series. It's 2024, and thankfully I was one of the content creators that was accepted to be a part of the Hell Hades Challenge for the free-to-play series. And I want to take a special thank you to all the people who have been super supportive in this endeavor to get me there, as well as Hell Hades himself and the whole HH network. And in addition to that, everybody else that we got to see along the ways that is also participating. So it's a big salute to all the content creators, and of course, we got to get started, right? So what happened? What happened? So I got accepted, right? And I'm not going to lie, during our live stream yesterday on not only YouTube, but also on Twitch, we ended up doing a lot of stuff, like basically setting up the account, and I hit the ground running. Let's just say it like that. So what I wanted to do with this series is kind of introduce to you guys my perspective, or to basically challenge myself in a sense, and reiterate the things that I normally preach to you guys, you know, about your resource management, about, you know, what should you focus on when you're first starting off on your account, and basically kind of drive that point home and follow my thought process of the execution of that, and to see if it still holds up in today's climate for raid, right? So, like, I know it's all fun and games whenever people, you know, they tell you to do things, but you see them doing other stuff. It's really kind of good to kind of bring yourself back into a free-to-play experience, or just in a new account experience, to kind of basically bring it back down to earth for a minute, because, you know, we've progressed a lot in our account. We're doing very, very well on our main, and then I wanted to kind of, like, just give myself the opportunity to just put myself back in the shoes of, like, I'm a free, brand new spanking player. Does the information that I normally tell you guys that listen in to me whenever I make my tangents or whatever, does it hold up, really? So, basically, what ended up happening was I started my champion selection, and I went with Old Reliable. We ended up going with Kale. I don't know if you're going to end up seeing him here, but we went with Kale. And then we also picked up our promo code champion, which was Deacon. And I'm not going to lie, at first, it was like, man, I'm not sure about this, if this is going to be a play. I know there's a lot of conversations around, like, Mordecai, and, you know, there's even a nod towards Miscreated Monster and Allure. Now, I'm not going to lie, they're all very enticing options. And I was like, you know what, though? When it comes to things that you're looking for early game, what is really going to get you over that initial finish line? So what I have done is I set myself down for a second, and I was like, you know what? We do have a free-to-play. I understand the synergy that can come up with, like, another HP Burn champion. I was like, maybe along the way we'll get lucky with the new one. But I think the main goal should always be to prepare for the step plans that we normally talk about, what you should aim for early on, which is going to be like Clan Boss and you know, establishing your first 60 and how you can go about doing that. So what I ended up doing is, as soon as I started the game, I pretty much grabbed all that stuff. I did as much as I could in terms of, like, general like missions and dailies and whatnot, and you're going to see this quite often. I'm going to pretty much just sit at 0 as much as I can. But along the way, I'm looking for little ways to basically get as much resources as possible. But on top of that, I want to use it, like, as lucratively and as wisely as I can, right? So when we first start off, you're given a bunch of, like, energy to work with, and it's like, oh, I ain't got to worry about this and that, and it does catch up to you, right? But what you do with your energy early on could be a very good jumping point to get yourself started. So I'm actually already, I'm going to disappear here for a second. I focused on my missions early on. And I'm already, like, into Chapter 2, and I'm pushing, and as a matter of fact, I was able to do what one of the first big checkpoints that I'm looking for on my account was to get enough resources to get Kale his mastery. So, Kale's mastery is already done, but I was able to one-up myself a little bit, and I got Deacons as well. So, we got 2 of 3 that are almost, basically ready to go. I've been working on trying to pace myself with challenges along the way so I can catch anything. I'm not gonna lie, this is probably gonna be the hardest part that I feel like is gonna slow down a little bit for me. Like, for example, because my resources are so finite right now, you know, being able to go out of my way for farming these extra boots and whatnot might be a little bit of an issue. However, I'm willing to take this a little bit of a break for right now to see if there's anything else I can get in the meantime. And maybe when we get a daily login for, you know, daily quests and whatnot, and I can get some extra revitalization of energy, maybe we may take some time aside just to kind of, you know, maybe 1 or 2. We'll pace it is basically what I'm saying. So, allow me to explain what I did. I basically went and I started grabbing gear pieces that have to do with the daily login from Rathalos. We started on day 0, is what I'm going to call it. getting the first pair of boots before the reset. So the live, what you saw at the beginning of the video is pretty much kind of like where we all got notified about what teams we're going to be a part of. We are with Team Jedi, so it's going to be pretty dope. But I made sure I got my account up and running so I could at least start getting some pieces for the lifesteal. So you need 4 pieces to get, basically a set bonus, and I think that's going to help me carry through a lot of my early game progression, right? And then as we get some more pieces and whatnot, it's going to hopefully help us out a little more. Another great nod is the fact that these pieces are typically 4-star, 5-star pieces, so it kind of helps you inject and kind of get away from that early 1-star, 2-star, 3-star pieces. And to be honest with you, even with that, I'm still trying to push into 5, for example. So my first goal excuse me, was to get as much as I could done with the amount of resources. I wanted to put in my mind that I don't have infinite resources. So every single thing that I did, whether it was pushing through campaign, farming for food, upgrading resources, I acted as if that resource was already at 0, right? So I min-maxed as much as I could to get as many victories as I could with a duo team of Deacon and Kale. We try to get as much gear and stuff to accommodate, making sure that, like, with the 2 pieces we got from the daily login, that we would facilitate a full lifesteal set, and we were able to get that pretty early on, and that kind of helped us kind of increase our trajectory, right? Now, as time went by, I was completing a lot of missions and a lot of the normal track for the campaign, and we did finish that one too as well, so that's another little check mark that I did on day 0, quote-unquote. But I wanted to make sure that everything that we do going into these next couple days is directed towards perfecting Kale, getting Kale up and running to a point where he's efficient so that he can be the engine for our initial farm fest for getting other champions up and running. So my goal ultimately, when it comes to the first week of playing on this free-to-play account, is going to be to try to get as many 6s as I can possible, get them mastered up, and get to a point where I have a solid 5-man team to rock with, right? So, based on the trajectory path, I've been pulling some shards. I did kind of go a little bit on the yellow path, and you can kind of see it. I don't have any shards whatsoever. But we did get a little lucky with some of our grabs, right? I did pull a Skull Crown, who's going to be useful for us going into PvP content at the very least, maybe even some PvE areas. You know, we could have her set up as a campaign farmer down the road, so she could be a lot more faster. And we also got, I was trying to go for Fat Man with my Ancient Shards, and we ended up getting a bunch of Perforators, which is kind of odd as it is to say, but he'll go along well with becoming a food piece somewhere down the road. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to lie, I actually was a little bit surprised about the ignore % defense on his A2. It's actually not too bad for damage dealing ability. And then if you get some extra poison along the way, it doesn't hurt, you know what I mean? So, with that being said, my goal was, I'm pushing, I'm going to get him some stars, I'm going to get him some ascensions whenever it's reasonable, and we followed along with the missions and challenges that we had. So, like, those were my 2 main focuses. I'm like, yeah, I can run it down in the campaign, get as far as I can, but the main thing I was thinking of is that I wanted to take things that I didn't do when I first started playing my main account and make sure I don't fall into those same traps or those same habits where I ignore or neglect something, right? So missions were one of them. In addition to that, PvP was another one of them, right? So I actually did go out of my way to make sure I keep my medals as low as possible. We're farming. I mean, I've lost some because, you know, there's a lot of other dormant accounts that may have had access to, like Rhonda. I saw Lanothril in there, which I think is just like someone got from a shard. But Sun Wukong, which is another day login. So it's a little bit of a challenge navigating around some champions that are very, very strong, right? But even with that being said, I do my best to try to make sure I give myself an advantage whenever I'm picking my fights. If it looks like the account isn't too progressed, I kind of like, all right, let's go take it. Let's go take it out. And you know what? Surprisingly so, I'm over 100+ fights in, and mind you, this number's a little bit higher than I wanted it to be. But we ended up getting some victories along the way, and I was able to successfully get the first 3 affinity bonuses on my Great Hall, which is one of the other things I would say I made a big mistake on my main account, which was not farming my Great Hall, like farming Arena effectively early on, because you want to get that ball rolling sooner rather than later. It's just permanent stats that'll help you out, right? So I know in the back of my head that there was challenges that were going to come along the way, particularly for the Arena side, that has to do with getting attack in the first 3 affinities, which is, you know, Magic, Spirit, and Force, for attack. So I did that. And now that I got that out of the way, the next step is going to be 3x5. Now, I am going to pivot And my focus is going to be quality, not quantity. We talk about that all the time. And I'm going to be aiming to make sure I can get as much resources. As a matter of fact, we're like 5 away. How about this? We'll do it. We'll do a live arena, a classic arena run, and see if we can find some free hits. So 2 maybe there. It does look like he's 5-star. There, I mean, I'm also 5-star, so there might be a little bit of a victory there. But you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of like, I see Magnar, I see Shaman. So these accounts have been on for a little bit longer. They existed a little bit longer. Sun Wukong. So we got to be careful with how we attack some of these guys, because it could turn out to be a very sad loss if we're not careful. So I'm actually going to take this team on and see if we can get a victory. I mean, I think Kale for Kale, I got a little bit of an advantage in terms of levels and ascensions, in ascensions, and then we have a full team maybe to hopefully clear this out. We do have Skull Crown. She isn't in the best gear, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but she isn't in the best gear at the moment, but we do have our passive that we maybe could crutch upon and maybe get a victory in there. So it looks like we're gonna be okay though. It looks like I got enough pressure to kind of get it done. So looks good there. Now in terms of gear, this was another focus here. So originally I already said in the back of my head I'm planning to give the first 4 pieces of the daily login lifesteal set to Kale. I'm using these 2 right now currently as placeholders. They're not really ideal, but the first 2 pieces I have, which are part of the actual login factor, they actually are really, really good for your starter champion. You know, they normally come with attack percent and crit rate. I actually got some pretty good, decent substat rolls into the crit rate side of things. And it has primary stats for speed. Same thing with the chest. You're going to get attack percent, speed, HP percent, crit rate. It's pretty much on par with what you would normally expect, right? Now, the other couple pieces, like you're going to get crit rate on the primary stat for the gloves, so it's going to be automatically a slot in for him. And then I think you might get a healthy stat line of like maybe some speed, crit rate, attack percent. It might be a little bit more RNG there, but you'll get like a decent stat line that would be a great starting point. Now, I'm going to pivot here. At first, when I first started off my referral accounts before in the past and whatnot, I actually kind of went down the path of just going straight for Chapter 11's Victory Reward, which was the Cruelty set that you get. And it would be that plus the Lifesteal, and that would round out KO early on. But then as I was thinking about it, I was like, you know what? A lot of the stuff that I'm going to be doing with Kale is going to require some accuracy. So I took a little peek as soon as I unlocked it open, and I was like, you know what? I do see we had the Dark Elf crypt available for us, and it looks like it's going to be open for the next 6 days. Maybe, just maybe, as I'm progressing Kale and advancing him up, I can dabble a little bit here and there and try to see if I can grab some perception pieces. You know, we do get some perception drops here. And maybe I could squeeze in a couple crafts and maybe get lucky with a 5-star, maybe even a 6-star, crafting session, and I'll be able to just jump and propel my gear progression in a sense, which will advance me in a lot of other areas in terms of content. So we ended up doing a couple crafts. I'm not gonna lie, it didn't pan out as well as I would like for it to have been, but we did come out with a couple pieces that I think are decent enough for me to work with, and here's why. So Kale's primary focus is to do damage, right? But amongst his kit, he has debuffs that is where the exponential amount of his output kind of comes to light, right? So poisons do 5% or 2.5% depending on the type that they are. His A1 does the weaker, and then of course his A3 does the higher one. And then of course his A2 is just pretty much damage, and everything does on hit damage, so you're gonna have a little bit of damage on top of that, right? But then I was looking, and I was like, you know what? We need to make sure we're landing those debuffs a little bit more effectively than not, right? And I looked at perception as like a great option for it, and we did some crafts, and I did get like a piece that has attack percent and accuracy. So it's like, okay, that's 2 good stats that kind of go in favor of what I'm looking for inside my build for Kale. And I'm not gonna let the HP fight. It's a little unfortunate. I would have loved speed. I would have loved like crit rate, for example. That would have been a much better opportunity. But you work with what you got when you're first starting off, right? I did on the flip side get some crit rate on the shield that I crafted. It did get HP percent, but then I started looking. I thought at first like, oh, this is okay, especially since it rolled 2 into the HP flat side. I was like, man, this is kind of starting to fall off a little bit for me. You know, I stopped there for a second. I was like, all right, I could create a set bonus that'll give me some base speed on top of the accuracy I'm going to get from the bonuses. But then on top of that too, having HP percent early on your account. This is something that Hell Hades kind of talks about in some of his original videos that I learned from when I was first coming up, which is the ASDD rule, which is accuracy where it's applicable, speed as speed is king. You know, you kind of go for a lot of speed. The more you're active, the more you're doing, the more you're going to accomplish. And then it's defense, believe it or not. So you're looking for survivability. You know, like HP, defense numbers, maybe even some resistance as a part of that survival aspect, right? And then after that, damage. And believe it or not, the longer you're able to go, the more damage you're able to do, especially early on. Now, when you start developing some champions that can forego the need for being, you know, tanky then you can worry more about the last part of that acronym, which is, you know, ASDD. You can go for more damage, right? So I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? This is a victory in my end. This is a W for me. So like, let's just go ahead and rock with it. Same thing with the defense. It is a 3-star. So I did decide I'm not going to go any further. The pieces I do know that are going to have a little bit more longevity on my account for right now, I did take all the way up to 16 stars. So like, I think that was going to be a great contribution to not only the speeds, but the attack percent you're going to get from the primary stat. Very, very good. I think this weapon right now, because I got like 2 rolls of accuracy, is going to do me well for right now. And believe it or not, we already got like almost up to 100 accuracy, you know? I think if it can get like maybe 1 or 2 more points of medals in the silver bracket, I'll be able to get my first accuracy bonus. So that's going to be an extra 5, and that automatically puts me over the 100 mark, basically. So we're working our way there. Now, I'm educated enough to know a little bit about the stat requirements for some of the big content areas, like, for example, Clan Boss, which is going to be my first big focus. I'm going to be working to develop my first individual champion, which is going to be KO. Then I'm going to be looking to develop a team. So I was talking about this earlier, but my goal is to get as many 6 stars as I can early on. And in particular, the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to work with what I got. So the first one's going to be KO. The second one's going to be Deacon, believe it or not. And then the third one, by the time we get to the point where we have a third 6-star amount of food set up, we should already have Rathalos in hand. So he'll be the next one I'll bring up. And then after that, depending on the circumstances of what we get for shards or pools or whatever, I'm going to basically pivot. But as of right now, I do have Skull Crowns, who could be a great campaign farmer, a great PvP asset. So we'll definitely work towards those 4 champions to start us off. Another great thing, too, although she's not really one that I would ideally look for PvP, or sorry, for like clan boss purposes, she does bring Winkin to the table. Yeah, it's a 50-50% chance. We are going to book her. It's going to be 75%, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown, which is not too bad. But she does bring that weekend, right? So her damage output, her weekend, in tandem with Deacon's decreased defense, that's 2 buffs that I normally look for when it comes to damage output. So a victory there, right? I could use her as a debuff champion for right now until we find a better alternative, right? And then, of course, we'll have KO bringing out the poisons, and then eventually down the line, Rathos will be my actual damage output champion. So the only thing I would like to have outside of that would be some more sustain options. Maybe we could get access to a couple epics that could be very valuable for us in terms of like sustain. Some quick ones that I thought about when we were talking about it, and people were like, yo, what are some champions you would like to get early on from an epic standpoint? And I immediately talked about Rector, you know, the epic version of a Duchess, for example, you know, the Veil, the continuous heals, a revive, decrease attack, which will be useful for early clan boss progression. So I'm looking to facilitate some of the debuffs I need, find the support I need, and then build a comp that's going to give me sustain through the battle of attrition and clan boss, right? I'm already kind of doing that with lifesteal, but it'd be nice to have an extra layer, right? And believe it or not, we actually, our first day 1, as of right now, at the time of this recording, this is probably around the time frame when my free-to-play account just started. So I'm about maybe 24 hours in. I did burn the midnight oil, I'm not going to lie. But we were able to, as a clan with all the other free-to-play content creators, if you haven't already checked them out, make sure you go take a look at them. We actually already got easy unlocked, so I'm already pushing into normal. Right now I'm reigning supreme on the #1 key. But I think it's because of my investment in my champions. We really did make a big effort to make sure that they were up and running. So it looks like right now I'm kind of on pace for maybe a 3 key, a 4 key on normal. So it looks like we got a good pace in there. I'm not going to lie, this is going to get better, because as these 2 champions get facilitated to other champions, as Skull Crown becomes a little bit more stronger, a little bit more built, this number should hopefully gradually go up. So we should improve those numbers ever so slightly. Maybe we can bring it down. And, you know, as we're developing our team, we'll also be unlocking more and more harder difficulties. So why am I caring about Clan Boss this early on? Well, we talk about it all the time. The resources here are exponentially better. Look, 4-star gear at a minimum, 5-star potential. Right, that could be your immortal piece to keep your team alive. That could be your cruel set to give you more damage output. You know, we got to get that Skull Crown build, right? But then on top of that too, the void shards, the potions. Believe it or not, these are kind of grindy when you're first starting off because you're farming at the lower levels. And then gems. All these assets are very, very valuable for an early game account to progress, even at the lowest stages, right? So I'm aiming to make sure that we give ourselves as much progression as possible, to give ourselves as much volume of assets to work with, right? Now, I'm not gonna lie, originally I was thinking about, I normally recommend players, if you're gonna play the long haul on this account, you get the mine earlier rather than later, because it'll pay off sooner rather than later, right? And then you'll net. you'll net some gems out of it. However, I believe that the endeavor of this account and this whole free-to-play series is going to be roughly around like 3 months. That's kind of been what we've all been hearing inklings about or conversations about. So I'm looking to accomplish as much as I can within 3 months, right? As of the time of this recording, this is basically day 1. So the 13th of January, I'm making my declaration right now. My goal is to be able to touch top chest on Ultra Nightmare. So that's what I'm aiming for. If I can get that close within, the first 3 months, I feel like that would be a huge accolade for my account, maybe even sooner. Another little healthy nod would be to maybe even consider being able to get into Gold 1 from a PvP standpoint. And then, of course, maybe within the teens, I would say maybe 16 to 20 for most of my Dragon and Spider. I'll say at least those. Because Fire Knight's a little bit more contingent upon some champion choices. You need multi-hitters. Ice Golem, maybe we could go a little bit higher. I'm already almost on my way to 10. And I guess this is a great opportunity to kind of show you guys what we've looked at so far. So, in terms of areas that we farmed at, I've had to do a couple missions that require me to push Minotaur, and they normally say only do like stage 3 or higher. That or higher is always like a challenge to me, and it's like, yo, go as far as you can. And I cook, and then I hit the roadblock. I'm like, all right, let's go back up one, And you're gonna fail sometimes here and there. I mean, you see, like I've lost a couple PvP matches in my record so far, and there's been a couple of stages where like I failed and I had to come back to it later on, but. Don't hit that wall and just constantly hit it and waste resources, right? That's what I didn't do. I did it once, maybe twice, to kind of see if it was just RNG that I was missing out on. If it really felt like I was not close to a victory, let's go farm somewhere else, pick up some values, and then come back to it. And sure enough, time and time again, I hit my roadblocks, like the big ones that I did come across that were kind of like, uh-oh. Surprisingly, wasn't actually Valdemar Strait. Chapter 8, I thought I was going to have much more of a troubling time because it's mostly Force Affinity, but believe it or not, I had to pace myself, but I was able to find, like, victories, and not only that, like, 3-star victories with my duo team, right? But the big one, Chapter 11 when it comes to Stage 7, and mostly most of these stages, actually. Stage 1, when I first came in here, I got hit with that wall, and it's like, oh, man, I'm taking too much damage, let's come back. I started farming some miscellaneous stuff, and then we came back, made progress, got to the boss, got stuck again, went and farmed some more stuff, and, like, jumped around, followed some missions around the way, and then hit it again, found our breakthrough, kept it going, and that's kind of what we went at from there. And we made progress all the way up until hard. I am actually almost on the end side of, I'm actually at the end for hard campaign. In terms of stars, whenever I hit some roadblocks and I noticed that my account progressed a little bit in terms of character investment, I did go back and farmed a couple pieces. I did go and try to see if I can grab some additional resources, like, for example, getting my champions upgraded. I did get Deacon. He was one of the priorities. I made sure to take some time aside because his 3rd star opens the door for the extra turn, which means he cycles into his kit more often than not, as well as turn meter boosting more often than not, and that kind of helps out with consistency for your team, also kind of going a lot more into the space of things, right? But this is where I am. Full masteries on KO. Oh no, we are actually fully booked on KO, so like we are doing very, very well. We already have a lifestyle set that's going to be upgraded as we go into the next 2 days of login. And then, of course, with Deacon, we got him as 3 stars. He's level 40. He's going to stay at 40 for a little bit until we get Deacon upgraded, but he is the next one on the list, right? His booking situation actually is a little bit more on the unfortunate side for me, believe it or not. I went ahead and booked him all the way up as much as I could as I get those books. There could be an argument for saving it for a rainy day and all that, but I was like, you know what? I'm trying to make progression. My goal, amongst the other content creators, is to have the first level 60. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to hit that right away because I've kind of deviated some of my focuses here and there, and that kind of slows down the pacing of this particular, project in particular. But we are kind of prioritizing that right now. So, but yeah, we kind of came unlucky with some of our books for him. So, and I decided, I was like, I'm just going to keep doing everything I can to make progression for those 3 goals I kind of mentioned. So maybe getting the first level 60 is my goal, getting to Ultra Nightmare as soon as possible, maybe getting a Speed 2 comp, and then, of course, maybe even touching Gold Arena by the time we hit 3 months. Now, I will say this. We did get some extra W's along the way. I did pull some mysteries and some ancients along the way, as well as some voids. You see some of the champions we have. But I finally got the GOAT uncommon himself. I got Armiger, who is going to be good for me on a rainy day. Maybe even he might be amongst my core 5 when we start building him up. Remember I said I need to find some answers for it. I do have a Mart who I pulled from an ancient shard. That was a little unlucky. I was hoping for an epic. But she does bring to the table her own version of a block debuff, which could be valuable for clan boss. I like the increased defense because that helps out towards survivability. Decreased accuracy and the decreased defense on the weakened side may not be too bad of an option, but I think we got Deacon to kind of cover the decreased defense. So it's mostly this A3. Longevity is the name of the game, and she can kind of help us out with that. And then, of course, maybe down the road, way down the road, since we have Deacon, you know, partnered with Ares and maybe some other champions we might be able to get access to. Maybe we could do an unkillable comp down the road. So I'm holding on to her for a rainy day for right now. These champions, I put them in the vault so they're out of sight, out of mind. They're not food. And I just pretend like they don't exist until I need to start pulling them out to work on them. So as of right now, though, the focus is still getting Kale. And I do have one 5-star already lined up for him. And I'm working towards getting Skullsworn up to 5 stars, so he'll be my second one. As of right now, I got 1, 2, and 3 4 stars ready to go. So this one will be my 4th, and that'll be my second 5-star, which means I'm 2/5 of the way there towards Kale's stars. So not too bad. I'm not gonna lie, I did hit the energy, like the energy wall kind of came. It's come. It's there now, right? But I do have some gems. I do have my my 2 starter champions done. I was deliberating on maybe taking a slower pace here at this point in time and seeing if maybe I could find a way to get enough resources to get Rathalos his next upgraded masteries as well. So that means I need to farm another 800, but 1600 plus down, and I'm already like kind of netting 2 champions. Basically, one step closer to completion is a very strong start. So I'm thinking in terms of like content, I'm gonna do this adjacent to my main account, so we'll still do main account content if I find something that intrigues the general populace. Like, for example, our Sand Devil videos have been doing very well, and I want to thank you guys for watching those. The Shogun one that I did that showcased 2 different teams was very healthy. So we'll definitely try to find stuff that's correlating around events that are occurring in the game. If you're looking for answers in those areas, I try to see if we can find some answers along with my community, which you can follow us on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe there, as well as on Twitch when we're live. We try to do simulcasting not only on Twitch but also on YouTube too as well, so you can join us in the YouTube lives. Maybe get, turn on that notification link so you can catch it whenever we do go live. So those are some ways you could be a participant of the live interaction of when we're progressing and stuff. And I normally talk to my community. I'm asking them, what should we work on? And they give some suggestions. Yo, it'd be great to do a video on this. I think this would be healthy for people to learn and blah blah blah. And it just that's how it starts. And next thing you know, we end up making a video out of it, and the community's better off for it. So, anyways, with that being said, I'm planning on. I'll try to do like a daily upload on the free-to-play series, but if I do feel like it gets a little slow in terms of like progression, it's just farming, somewhere around those lines, maybe I compress a couple days, and I'll try to pace this, like, to this video be like day 0 to 1 so far, or day 1, and then the next couple days, if it slows down, or depending on the pacing of the account, it'll be like day 2 through 5, and we talk about some of the stuff we got going on, like how I am right now. But if it's really substantial and I feel like I need to make a video off of it, I'll just do like, yo, day XYZ, we're live here, and then blah, 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 and I'll show you guys whatever I got going on, because we want to share our experiences with you. And as always, guys, man, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you guys think about this experience. I'm very excited to be actually a participant in something that a lot of the more well-established content creators are able to be a part of. I didn't say this, but we did get a chance to see some of our content creators. I got to get partnered up with some friends of mine that actually, nothing but amicable, nothing but like a great experience whenever I talk to them. They speak very positively. A big salute to my captain, MTG Jedi. Believe it or not, I don't know if he was one of the big components or proponents of people that maybe put a little bug in Player's ear about me when I first became a content creator for Raid. Being a part of their official CC program. I believe he's one of the people that actually reached out and was like, "Yo, look out for the kid. He's not bad. He's not bad." And if that is the case, Jedi, you have my immense gratitude. Which we got something to announce about that too, by the way, in terms of like our CC program. But also, we got some other people that I'm familiar with, like Grim Reaper. You normally see him on Twitch, I believe, but Grim Reaper on Twitch. Authentic Gaming TV, I think is what he names himself on Twitch. Auth is a homie. Those guys are actually pretty good on the PvP side. So like it's someone that I've whenever I did my plat pushes, I actually watched Auth, and I was just like listening to him in the background, supporting him. 2 really good friends of mine that I get to be a participant of. in the same team, actually, believe it or not. So we're with Team Jedi. I'm not exactly sure if there's a name that we're gonna come up with, but when we do have that information, I'll definitely let you guys know. I believe we got some other people, like one person that works with the Hell Hades Network crew. I think his name is Neva. I'm not sure. I'll have to get confirmation on that, as well as some others. You guys could definitely check us out and see what we got going on and how our free-to-play experience is going. I'm not gonna lie, my ambition is running high because my first goal when I saw all this stuff happening was that I want to make a name and establish myself as someone who's serious about it. So we do have some leaderboards, and I'm going to talk about that for just a second here. Let me see if I can find the link for it. I believe this is it right here. But the leaderboards are already active. You'll see some of the content creators like myself. You can definitely check out those guys. I know a couple of them, which is kind of cool to say. In terms of leaderboards, look at where we are at. We're already kind of pushing and focusing on things. You see my name here a little bit here and there. Like Faction Wars Progression, I already got like 6 stars. Classic Arena Rank, I'm already Silver 2. Like I'm in there. We gonna give them a run for their money. Currently, fastest champion is 178 with KO. So this guy's doing really, really good. He got some good rolls. Normal campaign progression, I'm already up there with 252 stars. I'm actually going to try to see if I can get hard campaign up there. Ooh, HW is pushing. And then eventually into brutal. HWZ Hell Hades and them are already in brutal. I need to catch up there. So we're actually going to be prioritizing like making some big effort. I want to give a little nod to one of my focuses real quick. Yo, peep this out. All right. So we're making strides. We're making progression as best we can. And we're going to try to see if we can dominate at least a couple of these leaderboards. I want to make sure that at least maybe 1 to 2 of them, I want to have my name as number 1. So I'm going to aim for that as my primary focus of progression. So we'll definitely see what we can do there. Anyways, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, stay ascended.